So this is my project. First I'll show the controller of my projects. It's basically a child of the advanced top-down controller, and I've just overridden the add UI to screen function to make sure that it adds the widgets that I've done for it. I've got that. This one's basically just for the normal characters, the soldier character. I've got a vehicle one, which you'll see the differences in a bit. And it just basically sets the vehicle one to hidden, and then that's basically the same as whatever is in the top-down control. And then on the quest switch input, it checks if you're in a vehicle. If you are, then it changes the vehicle one. If you're not, then it changes the character one instead. And then when you get in and out of the vehicle, it just switches the visibility of the widgets. And then when you pause, creates the pause screen. And then onto my weapon, the plasma gun. So primary fire just spawns a projectile which will stick to the enemy, and I'll go for that in a bit. And then the alternate fire, the main difference is it's just like the ammo type that it's using and how quick it can fire, but also in the ammo check, instead of just minusing 1 from the ammo, it minuses whatever I set that to, so at the minute it's 5, could change it later. Ammo plasma 1, so this is the primary fire of the plasma gun. So when you fire it, it checks if the thing that it hits has a pawn interface. If it does, then it sets the variable attached actor to be whatever it hit, and then it applies damage and attaches it to the actor, and it starts calling the damage events for every 1 tick, which it checks if the attached actor is still alive or not. If it is, then it applies the damage and adds 1 to the amount of times it's done damage to the character, and then once it gets to 5, it'll destroy the actor, the plasma bullet. At the minute, the damage over time is set to 1, so every 1 second, 1 tick, it'll do 1 damage. It'll do that 5 times, total 5 damage. So it does, at the minute, it does 10 damage overall, just from 1 shot. Ammo plasma 2. So when it hits something, does an explosion, you need to change that to green, so then it looks more plasma-y than just an explosion. And then it spawns the plasma pool and starts the time for it. Sorry. So when it starts, starts the pool stop function timer, which just destroys the pool actor to make it look back and just try and make the mesh fade out, something like that. Make it slowly disappear, something like that. So when someone overlaps the pool's collision, it will lower their movement speed by 300 in a minute, and then it adds them to the actors and pool array and just loops the damage function, which just damages all the actors in the array for 2 per time it ticks. And then when they exit the collision of the pool, it'll add the speed change value back to the movement speed, so then it should be back at the original one, and then it'll remove that actor from the array. Onto my car. Let's see. So the particle system is basically just the targeting one from the gun. and because the way I'm doing my machine gun fire, it's firing at both of them at the same time. I've made it so that it sets an array at the start for the both, and the visibility of the little particles turns off, so then when you're not in the vehicle it's just off rather than on, as if the car is turned off like. And then event fire just checks which ones you got equipped and does the correct one. Okay, so that's basically the same as like the tank, where it just adds one to the current weapon and then make sure that it's not over the max. If it is, then it'll set it back to 0, and then the opposite of when you're moving down one. And then this bit is just like setting the visibility of the particle, so then when you have the machine gun equipped, it sets the particles for both machine guns to be on, and then when you switch to the rockets, it sets the particle for that to be on as well. So to rotate, it just does the same as the tank, and then I've got it so that, because I don't want them to be firing backwards, because that's what the trap's for really, I've got it so that it checks that the Y value of the gun rotation is less than or equal to minus 0.05, and if it is, then it sets the rotation. So primary fire for the machine gun, it just spawns the actors at both the spawn points, which is these two at the minute. And then I could probably need to put a variable there, so then I can just change that when I need to for testing and balancing. And then the rockets, when you fire it, checks the ammo with the ammo for the rockets, and then does a line trace. This is to see if it gets a target to set the homing for the rockets, and then when you press it once, it fires one of them, and then the other one the second time you press it. And again, I need a variable here really. Then the trap just basically spawns the trap behind it. So the machine gun ammo just causes damage whenever it hits something. The rockets, if the homing target is valid, then it'll add a scene component to it, and then just set the target component to that. And then after 25 ticks, it'll explode, or when it hits something, it'll explode. And then when it explodes, it just does a multi-spear trace, so then anything within that radius of 250 at the minute, it'll apply damage to it. And then the trap, at the minute, I haven't got anything on it yet, but I've just got it just printing as slow enemy, but I may have this as damaging enemies instead, or just to spin enemies. And then after 10 ticks, it'll destroy it. And then to test out the slowing effects of the plasma pool, I've just got a moving target which just constantly moves between the two move points that's set in the level. I'll just show that in here. So you can see the target at the back moving left and right after a few seconds. And then if I shoot a plasma pool down, it'll go over it and it'll slow it down. And if I add more, it'll slow it down completely to a stop. And then that's slowly doing damage over time, as you can see from the print string, but that's not on the build. And then the difference between the widgets is that I've got an image to show you to kind of indicate that if you press the left trigger, it'll cost 5 ammo to do the plasma pool. Probably need a better image, but for now that's what I've got. And with the cartridge, it's just not there. But that's about it. And then you can see the machine gun particles appearing and the rocket one as it changes. And then try to move it behind it and it doesn't because it's stuck. So yeah, that's what I've got built. Cheers.